Welcome to February's miniature landscape video from my calendar. This is the calendar miniature landscape, a lovely cottage on some fields, and I've got some beautiful wildflowers embroidered here. So this one is quite simple. Even the flowers are simple, they just take a bit of time and practice. So once again, I'm going to do the same landscape, but do it on a different background and with different colors. So you can see here I've got a darker blue sky than this one, and I've got the green here for the fields, but most of that green will be covered. So you can just do a plain blue background if you prefer. I've already traced and cut out all my pieces. If you want to know how to do that, look at my first video or look at the start of January's landscape. But I thought it's pretty self-explanatory how to do that. So we need to lay our pieces on our fabric. So remember, we're layering from the background to the foreground. And I'm looking at my reference pattern, but you would probably look at your the template in the calendar. And I'm just laying background, middle ground, foreground. So foreground's at the front, okay? So they're my three pieces of fabric for the fields, okay? Then I've got this hillside at the back here. I'm going to tuck in there with a bit of colour, just with a bit of a floral pattern. Let's put our house in. So the house goes here. And I'm going to put in one of these bushes. Tuck that in there. So this time I've done the two bushes different from each other, whereas in the original they were the same. A bit fiddly. You can see that. And then I'm going to put in the roof. So this one has two pieces for the roof. So there's that one that goes there, because the house is sort of angled, and that one goes there. Okay, so that's our roof, and then we're just needing these trees. Actually, I might put some lace in the sky first, because the trees are in front of that, and I've got this nice sort of aqua sort of tree. And then this lovely green to tie in with the green corduroy down here. And lastly, I have my moon. I've actually done this one slightly bigger just because the pen that I traced for the moon, because the piece of paper was too fiddly, was slightly bigger. So there you go. That's the new colours. I'm going to glue that down, and in the next video, we'll start stitching. Here is my miniature all glued down together. And now I'm going to start with the moon. I've got one strand of white embroidery thread, and I've knotted the end, and I'm going to just go around the moon with little straight stitches. So I've finished the moon. So you can see here, I've done straight stitch all around the moon. Now I'm going to start on this tree and use what they call a fly stitch, or an open loop stitch maybe, or a Y stitch. So it's sort of like making little V's. So just pick a spot towards the top of the tree, and then you're going to hold it down and go across sort of horizontally, probably a couple of millimeters. And then before you pull it to make a straight stitch, you're going to go slightly down, sort of like a triangle, but you're making like a V shape. And then you go in at the same point, and that's one. So I'm going to cover this tree with a whole bunch of those stitches. I'm going to cover this other tree with just some straight lines but going down, so vertically down. And I'm using this darker turquoise so it stands out against the light turquoise. Just covering the top of this tree slightly, but then I'm going to slowly make my way down. Finished the straight stitches on this tree, and then while I still had that same color turquoise, I did some here on this hillside. Now I'm just going to do the trunks of the tree, and basically they're just a couple of straight stitches going down on sort of just behind the field. So you probably only need, depends how thick you want them to look. Might just do one more. While I have my brown embroidery thread out, I'm going to outline the house. I've gone down to one embroidery thread because I want the outline to be quite narrow. And I have my friction pen, and I'm just going to draw in the lines. So remember with this pen that with heat, it will disappear. So got a tiny, this is quite fiddly because it's quite small, and with this door we're just going to color in that door, but you may want to put a different color. On the original it's just brown or dark charcoal, I think I used on this one, but you could make your door a different color. So I've knotted the back of my string, and I'm going to start, I think I'll start with the window. Now this is just a square, and as you know, it is quite fiddly and hard to get really precise. So just take your time. It's the downside of drawing it in. You can't see it, how it looks, until you kind of iron it. Together, but I'll see if I can push that out a bit. Oops. So that's my window, and then I'm going to start on this side, going with a back stitch. So you're just going, make a straight stitch down, and then I'm going to go ahead. And then I'm going to come back and match it up where that one went in so that it connects up. So we want it to look like one straight line. And then we do the same again. I think I fit 3 stitches in there. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of the house now. I finished outlining the house and the roof. It's a little bit wonky, but I kind of like it that way. I'm left the door because I'm thinking I might do that a colour, but I might wait to the end and see what colour will go with the rest of the piece. I'm going to do these 2 bushes now either side of the house, and they are similar to this stitch, but instead of making a V, you're just kind of joining it together. So it's kind of like a detached chain stitch. So you go up in one bit and you go into the same bit. So instead of going across like you would on that one, you're going into the same stitch, and then you're making a loop a bit further down, pulling it tight and then going in on the same bit. So I'm going to do that in a few different directions. Mine seems to have dropped a little bit. You can do them as long or as short as you like. The nice thing about these is they're a little bit thicker than just a normal straight stitch or seed stitch, so they add a little bit more texture. I'm just going to chop off that frayed bit there so that you can see. I'm just going a different direction now just to change it up. Might be a little bit hard to see with this green on green. I've chosen a bright green, and I'll do this on both bushes. I'm just doing the top of this tweed now with some dark green thread, and I'm just doing straight stitch. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm just going over the edge of the tweed and just moving a couple of millimeters to do the next one. So I finished that straight stitch along that edge, and I'm going to do exactly the same stitch along the edge of this hillside, and I'm using a lighter green sort of to match these little flower patterns in this fabric. Finished the stitching along this edge, and now if you look at this original one, I've done this kind of wavy line, so I'm going to try that. Even though this fabric is a bit busier, I'm going to use that bright color green and do a couple of wavy lines along here and see how it looks. So I just started straight stitch, or more like running stitch. And so you could draw the lines in with your Frixion pen or pencil, or you can just do what I'm doing and just sort of follow an imaginary line. So here is my wavy line, and then I'm just coming back the other direction, sort of underneath, to make the line a bit thicker. So I'll probably do all that underneath to the end, and then maybe come back a third time just to get a bit more detail and thickness to that wavy line. So I've done a few lines of this swirly line through the field here. Now on my original, because it was more plain fabric, I added in a bit of seed stitch here, but because I've chosen to use a more detailed fabric, I'm not going to do that here because it will be too busy, because we are going to add all these flowers and wildflowers and grasses here. So otherwise it'll get too busy and I want to be able to see the flowers. So I'm not going to do those little seed stitches, but it's up to you and it depends what fabric you decide to use. I'm going to start the flowers now, but I always start with the stems because then I know where I might want to place them. So you can see here, I've got two different colored stems here, and I have these little violet flowers and then these little tiny blue ones, as well as like the daisies, and then these dandelion type flowers, as well as a whole lot here. So there's a lot of extra detail in this, which makes it pop, I think, and just adds that extra level of detail to your piece. So you can choose to put as many flowers as you like. So I'm starting with some stems, and these are kind of just random direction. I've got a dark green because I want it to stand out on the background, and they're just like long straight stitches. So just be wary of making them too tight, pulling them too tight. But basically you're just wanting them to go in various directions. You can always add more later if you find that you haven't got enough. And they're okay to go cross over each other because that's what happens in the real world, in nature. The grasses cross over each other and are all in different directions. So you don't have to do it right to the bottom because remember, you will be stitching that onto your background. So we're just adding stems in random heights and random directions. I think I need a long one here. And you might even want one to go into the next section of fabric. So I'm going to use these colors for my first set of flowers. So I'm going to use this for the lighter color here, like these little purple, I don't know what you might call them, peonies or something. And then this darker orangey red for the French knot flowers down the bottom to add a bit of pop, because I want it to tie in with this orange in here and the roof as well. So to make our first lot of flowers, we're not going to do them on every stem, but just on like 6 or 7. And you come up at the top of your stem and you're doing a detached chain stitch. So we're going round and going, I'll just go a bit closer for you, and going into where you came out from. So you're kind of making a loop, and then you probably go about 1/2 centimetre up the direction you want the petal to go, and then you pull it. So you're sort of making like a half loop. Now don't pull it too tight, otherwise it will look too straight and won't be like a petal. So I'll do the other side in the same spot where you came out from. So you're doing like 2 petal shapes. Go, that's one flower. So I'm going to do a couple, maybe 6 or 7 along here, and we can always add more if we think we need more later. These orange flowers are finished, and I'm not going to do the French knots yet. I'm going to wait to do them towards the end. I'm going to work on some daisies. So I've got to decide where the daisies are going to go, and I'm going to use a different colour for their stem. So I think we'll put one here. So again, I'm just making some stems. And maybe one that goes up this way. So I'm just going to cross that down. So we want our flowers to sort of be random, if we can, like they are in nature. To make our daisies, I've got some white thread, and these are really fun to make. We just want to do about 3 or 4 stitches, straight stitches, going down towards the stem. Sort of like half a star shape. You just bring it all into the same point, and at that point is where we'll put our yellow French knot to finish it off. So that's one. I'm going to do one up here. Here are all my little daffodils, and now I need to do a French knot at the top of each one. It's easier for me to put that flat. Remember the French knot, you come out where you want it to be, you wrap your thread a couple of times around the needle, put it back in, pull it tight, and then pull it through. There we go. I'll do this one as well. So come out at the top. I'm going to make this one, I'm going to wind that one 3 times around because it's a bit of a bigger flower. 1, 2, 3. Poke it back where you want it to go. Pull it and then push it through. Whoops. It's a bit harder when you wrap it a bit more. Doesn't that look cute? So I'll do the rest of those. These are the daffodils all finished, and now I'm just going to add some little French knots in this reddy orange colour just to finish this section off. So again, it's the same as with the yellow. You wind the embroidery thread a couple of times around the needle, and depending on how big you want them, and then you bring it back through the same. There we go. So I'll keep doing that for a little bit and I'll show you when it's done. All the French knots here are finished. I think the orangey red really pops, which is nice. Now I'm going to do the daffodils, and I'm actually going to start up here and start with the dandelion, I should say, dandelion flower. And basically it's just like a star shape going into the middle. I'm only using 1 thread of white because the dandelions are so thin, you know, like you blow them and they fall apart. So I want it to have that kind of effect. And I'm just going in and out, sort of probably about 3/4 centimetre in a star-like shape. You can make it as big as you like. then at the end of each one of these lines, I'm doing a tiny little cross stitch. So you might not even have to do every one, but I'm just going diagonally across, just like a little cross. It's only just to give the effect of the dandelion. Dandelions are all finished, and while I've got the white, I'm back to 2 threads rather than 1. I'm just going to add a little chimney to this cottage. I just think it needs a little chimney, so I'm just choosing where to put it and doing a couple of straight stitches to make it like a little rectangle shape. That's a nice little chimney there. Okay, a couple more things to still do. We need some little stems up here and some French knots. So I've just got this bright sort of olivey green colour that I'm just making some little short stems across the top of this field. We want it to stand out against the tweed. Stems are finished, and then I'm going to do some little French knots, and I've got the white back again, so I think the white will look really good on this background. So again, with the French knots, I'm just going to do little ones. I'm just going to do 2 loops over the needle and back into the same stitch. Those ones here are just 1 loop around, and those ones are 2, so you can use a variety of loops. I'll keep finishing that and show you when I'm done. All the little flowers are finished, and I've also just tidied up the cottage, added a little dot there and just tidied it up a little bit. And then I remembered I hadn't done the door, so I've decided to do the door a turquoise green colour to sort of tie in with this colour and also this colour on the tree, and hopefully that will look good. So the door is just like a fill-in, what we call like a satin stitch, which is really just straight stitch really close together so that you're filling in the shape. So you're just trying to get the lines neatly next to each other to fill in the shape of the door. There we go. I think that looks quite cool. I think the green makes it just pop and ties in the colours. Last thing we need to do before we attach it to our background fabric is just finish off the sky with some metallic thread. So this is a Gutermann, not sure if I'm saying that right, but a German brand of metallic thread, and this one is called Sulky. It's really sparkly. You can see that sort of like a halogen, is that the word? So metallic thread can be fiddly to work with, but this one isn't too bad. So I've just got one strand of that, and I'm just going to do, like it is in my original one, just straight lines across the sky to sort of capture this lace netting, but also just to add a bit of a sparkle to the sky and a bit of detail in the sky. So I'm just going to do lines across and then come back, and so we can just do like a running stitch. You can actually put it in and out and pull it gently. Don't pull it too tight or you'll gather up the, and just, I don't do necessarily each stitch too even. I think it looks kind of better a little bit messier. So that's one, and I'm going to go up here and do some more and go back across this way. Don't have metallic thread, you can use a single strand of white or a light blue. That will also work the same. Lastly, we just need to attach our miniature to the background, and I've just glued this down so that it stays in place, and I've decided to use the same color as these little reddish orange flowers here, these French knots, and the roof of the house to do around it. If you know anything about color theory, red and green are like complementary colors on the color wheel, so that's why I think the green will really pop on the red will really pop on the green background, the orange red. Sometimes I do change my mind because I start stitching and I think that doesn't look good, but just hold some different threads against your background and against your mini and try and tie in one of the colors in your miniature with the edge. So again, I'm just doing random straight stitches, sort of in slightly different directions because I don't like it too static, but that's just personal preference. And I'm going to go right around the outside of my miniature. So you can see already, I think it will look really nice. So I'll finish stitching that around the outside and show you when it's complete. So this is the finished landscape, all completed with the orange around the outside and all the little flowers. Just to compare it with the original one, you can see how they look so different with just different types of fabrics and different colors. So I hope that you enjoy making your February landscape.